welcome to Astrology and Magic. My name is Valkyria Verder. Today we're talking about April 25th through May 2nd. And this is one of the weeks that we do have all the planets direct still. So if you're moving on, moving forward, doing new things, sort of unexpected things also, lots of Pisces energy, transition energy, and getting out of our comfort zone. New purposes that are near and dear to old purposes. Before we get into the week though, before we start talking about specifics, we've got a new moon in Taurus this week, among other things. There's a couple conjunctions going on too, but before we get into that, I wanted to reintroduce for people who've been here for a while, and then introduce it for the first time for people who are new here. Welcome in, thanks for being here. That my sessions are open. If you are curious, interested, and feel called to do that, I'll leave a link down in the description below. You can also find sessions over at astrologyandmagick.com. That's magic with a CK, or at www.vordr.art. Those are both my websites. Astrology and Magick is more about, well, Astrology and Magic. Hopefully that one's obvious. And then vorder.art, that website is going to be more about my personal portfolio, my artist portfolio, my books, my paintings, and other things like that, my card decks that I've made as well. So if you're interested in either of those spaces, feel free to go and check it out. And then also, this show is reader and listener supported. So if you would like to become one of the financial supporters for the work that I do, thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. There's already so many people who do support me, and it just every single time that I put a new episode out keeps growing, and every single time it happens, I'm incredibly grateful. So thank you so much. There's a couple different options for that. There's $5 a month, $55 a year, or $333 as a founding member, and that's a one-time payment as kind of like all-time access sort of thing. So those exclusive subs over there receive two different things each month. There's a new moon update for every single month, which we do have a new moon in this episode. So exclusive subs will be receiving very soon, probably tomorrow afternoon, after I get this filmed and sent out to everybody, will be receiving their new moon exclusive subs update. And then there's also once a month adult paywalled sort of magical practice space for people. It's the magic that costs more, so I put it behind a paywall just to give reverence to the fact that learning that magic costs a lot for me. So, you know, in the reciprocity of the spirits and making sure that everybody is of equality, equal balance, justice. We got justice going on, true. And then if you want to go and be a free subscriber on the blog too, there's email updates that get sent out. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that I send out over there too. I've been writing a little bit more recently. There's been some more blogs that have been coming out. I've been spending more time over in that space. So it's a good place. Those are gonna be the updates. I vote we get into the week. You wanna vote about it? That's my vote. Let's go. Let's go. Apparently, is it a democracy? Apparently, is it a democracy? Well then. Well then. Apparently today she's in a silly, goofy mood. Apparently today she's in a goofy, silly mood. And you know what? I like that considering where we're at in the world. The silly, goofy mood sometimes is not so bad, you know? So we're gonna be in a little bit of a silly, goofy mood. And if we get serious, that's fine. But there's been a couple weeks recently where things have been more serious, so maybe we need the silly, goofy. Thanks. Shout out to Taurus season, to be honest. Didn't I say in the previous episode, this is kind of the refresher energy that we need? Agree. Okay, there we go. So starting off, and this, by the time I get the episode out to everyone, this one is something that I missed from the previous week. I had it on my calendar as happening on the 25th, but technically in UTC time it happens like at the very, very, very end of the day on the 24th, or happened, I guess, since it's already happened. Venus and Saturn being conjunct in Pisces. It was the 24th at 23:32 UTC time. So, which honestly, now that we're past that conjunction, what a freaking conjunction, dude. Venus and Saturn getting together. I've been saying it for weeks now. Venus is the cutthroat sister, and then Saturn is the militant, wealthy, sort of sometimes defiant. But that's kind of another side of Saturn. Sometimes, though, defiant is true. Both of those Venus and Saturn energies have been together. for a while now. Venus retrograded back into Pisces recently, and now that Venus is direct, it's been going direct. It crossed over the North Node recently, and it just crossed over Saturn. So I know for me, that whole entire transit of a conjunction was the spirits in my practice, because Pisces is really spiritual. It's the placement of our altars, the place of our altars rather, or how we interact with our practice of altars, the sacrifices, how are we offerings, you know, how are we making sacrifices, how are offerings happening. And when it comes to offerings and when it comes to sacrifices, especially with Pisces, it's not just about how they're made, it's also about how they return to you. So getting specific with the spirits that you're offering to and knowing how that spirit is going to filter the offering and then give it in return. That's a really important part of Pisces and Neptune spaces. So Venus and Saturn being together in Pisces, I know for me on my spirit team and what we were working with and what they were working with me on, it was very, very, how do I say this? They were like, listen, you're doing terrific. We gotta plan some stuff. You're worth all of this. We've been over that. We've got to plan some stuff. Let there be clarity. Let there be light. It was not necessarily so much a fight, which is good. And I'm grateful for that, because that conjunction was ruled by Neptune and Aries. Neptune right now is ruling over all those. Well, it's always ruling Pisces, but it recently transited into Aries. So we have this mental, fiery spark ignition, birth and creativity, this new beginning happening with Pisces. And it's interesting to me that at the end of Saturn being in Pisces, and then we have Venus transiting out of Pisces, and then North Node just crossed into Pisces. Like, there's so much Pisces energy that's still active right now. So there's these really big long-term transitions that we are still going through. And instead of being in the transition spiritual, think about it, figure stuff out energy, now it's like, okay, what do I need to do to get started? Because it's time. We're in the birth energy now. And I know for me, oh my goodness, I have felt like a baby recently. I don't know about you, but I know about me, so I'll talk about it. With the birth and the labor and things coming through, things in our favor also. Birth and labor for things in our favor, okay? Birth and labor for things in our favor, that's kind of an energy of springtime, just generally speaking, but I know for me this year has been really, really prominent in that. Oh my goodness. And I've told myself this previous week, I was like, I feel like a baby. Like, I feel like I've been born again. And like, I'm crying all the time. I'm sleeping all the time. I'm eating all the time. And that's kind of all that I have space for. All this unpredictable stuff keeps happening, and like the winds have just been twirling around. They've been changing some things. And so I've said recently, I feel like the mother and the child, you know, like I'm taking care of myself and the child aspect of things. So we've got birth energy. The reason I bring that up is because we've got birth energy with Neptune and Aries right now. There's birth energy up and going, and it's spiritual birth. Spiritual birth is it's akin to physical birth, but it's very different than physical birth. Spiritual birth and spiritual labor, it looks different, it sounds different, sometimes it feels different, you know, and it is something that is consistently happening until there is a deliverer, you know, that you are delivered, there's a deliverance, maybe you're born again, there's a rebirth, the death and rebirth process, you know, the transformation process. So if you're experiencing any of that right now within the spirit of things, or you've been kind of like birthing new stuff that you've been waiting on, or you feel like a new person, or wherever Pisces, Neptune, 12th house stuff is in your chart, that's going to be applicable for those spaces. And I didn't really touch on that when the Neptune and Aries transit happened in that episode, but it's something that I've noticed, and because of this conjunction that we had with Venus and Saturn, I wanted to bring it up because it's something that I've been going through, and because there's a lot of collective work that I do. Usually there's themes, there's trends, you know, we're all humans on the earth. We all work together, even if we're working on the individual space. So it is as it is. So that was technically in the previous week, depending on your time zone, then that would have put you on the 25th, the day of the 25th. So just, you know, translate that as necessary. Then going into the 25th and the 26th, this is our balsamic moon in Aries. Now, if you remember from our previous new moon in Aries, that thing was a solar eclipse. That thing right there, that big old moon in the sky, that new moon up high that was in Aries earlier about a month ago, March 29th, that was a solar eclipse. Okay, well, here we are. Congrats, you made it. We're at the end. The balsamic moon grounds the cycle. We're done. There's big messages that come through. It's a lot of sitting around, processing things. Maybe you don't have the time to sit around, but like it's a lot of grounding. The balsamic moon is the end. It's the dark moon right before the new moon. Not the dark moon, the placement. That would be akin to the Lilith, and I would call that the dark moon. The balsamic moon, though. The balsamic moon. True, true. So we've got this balsamic moon in Aries, which is ruled by a Mars in Leo. Okay, Mars in Leo. Fiery fun. Fiery fun, look at the sun. Fiery fun, get things done. Fiery fun, has it been fun? Is it for you? If it's fun, then let it be true. Mars and Leo, okay? Thanks for the rhyme. Thanks for the rhyme. So that's Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo is ruled by the Taurus sun right now. And that Taurus sun, ruled by a Venus in Pisces, ruled by the Neptune in Aries. Because Pisces is in Venus, okay, Neptune rules Pisces, and Neptune is in Aries. We're gonna do the whole circle because then it goes back to Mars and Leo. You know, it goes the whole enchilada, the whole shebang. It's a whole circle. We got a power circle going on, and power circles are really interesting. We've kind of had one floating around in the chart. Granted, there's been different placements and like there's a whole bunch of different spaces involved, and it's because of where Mars has been stationed for the previous both Aries season and Pisces season, with Mars retrograde and the way it was transiting through Cancer, and the moon being a part of it. Was just this big circle. The way that we had the transit set up, it's been a big circle for most of the time, all the time, for months now. And so we still have a power circle, but because Mars is in a different place, it's a different circle of power. We're more focused on the truth of things. We're more focused on the sun of things, the bright light. Let me see the bright light. I need to see the truth now. Now, I don't need to sit maybe in the emotion so much unless you do, and that's necessary. So, you know, discernment. And also, Leo is about being able to go through those emotions and find the joy of it, find the bright light of it, find the truth of it, find the soul of it, find the you of it. That's Mars and Leo. So that is now, it's like a transference of power, really. Instead of sitting with the emotional power, it's like, okay, now that I've worked through that, who am I in this? What am I in this? How am I going to move in this? What's my truth, my bright light? And because that's a part of this power circle, the balsamic moon in Aries is grounding that new moon, and the new moon was ruled by a Mars in Cancer. Oh, interesting. That new moon solar eclipse in Aries ruled by a Mars in Cancer, and the Mars in Cancer let the eclipse rule over itself. That was the power circle. They just went back and forth. The circle only had two things in it, Mars and Cancer, and then the eclipse. Mars and Cancer was ruled by the moon, and the moon was in Aries, and that was the eclipse. That's the reason I say that. Mars and Aries, yeah. Anyways, let me not get caught up on my words. The new moon solar eclipse in Aries was ruled by that power circle also. So it kind of let the eclipse rule over itself. Very strange. So it was non-ironically very centering, because now that we have Mars in Leo, it's like the centering of it has been centered, and now it's also about being a parenter. Being a parenter. Leo, the fifth house, is a lot. It's not just the joy. It is the joy. I call it the unbridled joy of the child. The child who sees a butterfly and runs after the butterfly. There's no consequence to that other than joy. You know what I mean? As long as the situation allows for that to be the only consequence, that would be the house of Leo. It's like, look, I found a butterfly. Oh, I caught a butterfly. Look at this thing. Look at this thing that I did, and I love this thing, and this thing is great. That's Mars and Leo, or that's just the Leo space. That's the Leo space. So then you get to the fifth house, which is Leo related. That's the house of Leo. The house of the sun is the fifth house, and it has to do with the parent-child relationship. Because we also have a Chiron in Aries right now, there's a lot of inner work of parent-child. It's like finally we can see what needs to be with the inner child, what needs to be with the inner parent. If you have children or are a child whose parents you're like working in that relationship right now, because of where Chiron is stationed in Aries, we don't really have anything that's crossing over Chiron. Well, I guess the moon being with Chiron in Aries is going to be a part of this, but just feels necessary to bring up. Chiron is sometimes kind of triggering. It's healing as well. Sometimes we need to get triggered to be able to see that we need to heal. And the wounded healer, it's more of the masculine energy of healing. It also kind of sometimes has to do with societal wounds, or the way that the groups that we're a part of could wound us, or the masculine, the father, the boys, that sort of wounding in those energies and those spaces. So because of that, there's a lot of masculine energy right now that's kind of coming to, it's like the masculine energy that might have been festering or maybe had a place to hide doesn't anymore. It doesn't. And it's front and center. We've got a different energy. Chiron has been in Aries for the whole entire time that the North Node was in Aries. So we've already been through about 1.5 to 2 years of this energy. This is anything that might be lingering. Anything that might be lingering, anything that we might still need to work through, anything that might be just a little bit different that needs to come to the truth and come to the light, especially when it comes to our parent-child relationships. Again, inner child and or the actual parent-child relationships that you're in within your families. So just a heads up, there could be some things that come up that like Chiron is one of the quote-unquote lesser placements. It's not one of the main placements in astrology, but just something to note because I know for me, that Chiron kicked my little booty for the previous 1.5 to 2 years. And yeah, sure, maybe it's a lesser placement, but it still had a kick to it. So something just to be aware of in this balsamic moon. And then also kind of going into this season of Mars and Leo, that's going to be kind of a crossover. I haven't mentioned that in any of the episodes recently. And I personally have been working on my healing stuff. And it's something that I've noticed with the transits. So I figured I would bring it up. If it's applicable for you, then sit with that how you need to. True. So this balsamic moon in Aries, if we look at the fact, let's go back for a second. We look at the fact that the new moon was in Aries, the solar eclipse was in Aries. This is a grounding of a really big cycle. Anything that you've been blind to, anything you haven't been able to see, anything that hasn't made sense about the purpose of your Aries placements, your first house and your Mars that has been cycling for about 1.5 to 2 years while that North Node was in Pisces, we're grounding it now. We're grounding it now. And then for the next 6 months until the next eclipse season, there's going to be another kind of like filtration of endings and groundings and understandings. So pay attention to the Aries moons as we move through the next 6 months until we get to the next eclipse season, because there's probably going to be some clarity around this new moon solar eclipse that we just had March 29th. And also I want to bring up that new moon solar eclipse, less than 24 hours, I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering my calculations correctly, or my tracking, I guess both. If I'm remembering that correctly, Neptune moved into Aries less than 24 hours after that new moon solar eclipse in Aries, and Neptune takes about 14 years to transit. So I think over the coming months and because also now we have a Neptune ruled North Node. So I think that this is kind of bigger picture stuff, but necessary. Everything that we've been working on in this Aries North Node, again, 1.5 to 2 years, where we have new purpose of our mind, new purpose of the child, new purpose of birth. It's stuff that the North Node is like this thing, this purpose that's way high up in the sky, and we have no idea how to talk about it, and it doesn't make sense to society. Sometimes it doesn't even make sense to us, but we feel like we have to go and do it. I find that a lot of the times the people that I work with in sessions and the people who are in spiritual spaces are usually North Node centered because they are working on figuring out what is that thing that's way high up in the sky that I feel like I need to go and do. A lot of the times, spiritual practices, spiritual information, spiritual language helps us to understand, how do I cross that thing? How do I get to that thing? How do I make my way to going in that direction? That may not necessarily be applicable to everyone. Say that you had like a North Node in Capricorn, that's going to be very, very human related. Could be you being spiritual in the hierarchies though, so it's up for discernment. And also I find that most people who are in spiritual spaces are somehow North Node specific, somehow North Node in it. So if you've been working on within your first house Aries and Mars placement anything new within that spiritual purpose, like a big purpose, something that's probably going to take a while to get there, I have a feeling that everything over the previous 2 years is going to be still processing while the North Node is in Pisces. I think that we're going to see some different trends, which we've got about 2 years of those eclipses to cycle out, the Pisces and Virgo eclipses. We just had the first round with this previous eclipse cycle, but now we've got 3 more rounds, and then the nodes switch over mid-2026, the lunar nodes of that switch over into Aquarius and Leo, which we're going to take a side note adventure for a second. I've been looking at that transit recently. We're going to have a lot to talk about when we get there. we're going to have a lot to talk about when we get there. It's not quite time. It's not quite time yet, but we're going to have a lot to talk about when we get there. So lots of change coming in. That's why I say that. There's a lot of change coming in. A lot of things about to happen. I've been looking at the charts of America astrology. I've been looking at what's really going to cross, astrologically speaking. Maybe I'll do a special episode at some point. I don't know exactly when I'm going to present that information. I'll probably put it in a blog, to be honest with you. It'll come out sometime. At some point, it's been on my mind. It's been on my heart. Can't promise when, can't promise how, but it's going to be something that within the coming months, I'm sure I'm probably going to bring up because, oh my God, because holy cow. Again, we're not going to get too into it, but just, you know, we still have some things to process. No loss about it. We still have some things to process. We have some things to process from the previous 2 years. We're still in transition right now with this new purpose, this new North Node purpose that we're working on, we're figuring out. We still got time. We're still processing things. And it's like this big transition because the relationship, let's break it down. The relationship between Pisces and Aries is that Pisces is the transition of the ending. Aries is the transition of the beginning. Together, they're like the Fool card in tarot, where it is the ending and the beginning at the same time. Pisces does have beginnings in it, but it's more focused on the end. And then Aries does have endings in it, but it's more focused on the beginning. So it's like this strange, elusive crossover between the two of them, at least in my opinion. It's like the strange, elusive crossover between the two of them, where sure you can look at specifically like this is an Aries quality or a Mars quality, and this is a 12th house Neptune Pisces quality. Like you can discern and differentiate between the two. And in the big picture, okay, the lunar nodes take about 18.5 years to cycle. Each one is about 1.5 years. The eclipses from each lunar node last about 2 years, but the lunar nodes themselves are about 1.5 years. Wasn't expecting to talk about all of this today, but for some reason I feel like it's necessary and important. So since we've been through the Aries energy, the lunar nodes are always retrograde. They don't ever go direct or like the technical turnaround or direct moment. They're always moving backwards in the chart, which means technically within the language that we have for astrology, they're always in retrograde, even though that's the only direction that they move. So they technically, in my opinion, even though they're moving backwards, do they ever really retrograde? Because they're always moving in the same direction. You know what I mean? Anyways, so they're always going backwards in the chart. They don't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They go backwards. They go 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We're not going to go all the way. That's a lot of numbers. It's early in the morning right now. So anyways, but yeah, they go backwards. It goes backwards. And so since it goes backwards, the lunar nodes go backwards. We're cycling the big cycles of the moon in reverse, while the mini moons, the moons month to month, are being processed forward. It's like, imagine if you had a mug, okay, like a coffee mug, or you're making tea, or some kind of mug with something in it, right? Say that you're stirring the contents of the mug. Imagine that you're turning the mug itself. This is kind of an interesting magical quality. If you ever wanted to add this into your practice, it definitely does wonders. It's very different. It's a very, and the South Node's in Virgo, so you know what, food magic. This is a great application. Cool. What a good moment. If you have a mug, right? If you're turning the mug clockwise, because that's going to be technically reverse on the astrological chart. So the lunar nodes, right? If you're turning that mug clockwise and then you stir the inner contents counterclockwise at the same time, that's a really great example of how the lunar nodes work with the moon. They're always cycling together, but they're going in opposite directions for the same purpose, the same goal, the same intention, but they're moving in different directions, which keeps things, in my opinion, kind of centered. Also, the gravitate, like that's a very strange force. It's a very strange central force. So it isn't interesting for people who work with like right hand, left hand, or you like, you know, stir clockwise or counterclockwise for specific intentions. It's an interesting, it was introduced to me recently. So here's a little offering of, if you have your mug, turn the mug at the same time that you stir stuff. That's oh, I love the wheel. That's what that is. Oh, I love the wheel. Okay, wheel. Thanks, wheel. Love you, wheel. The wheel of fate, the wheel seal. Seal in the wheel. I guess that's true. So the seal of the wheel, seals, Spirit's been working with me with seal and magic recently. The seals of magic and sealing magic. But Anyways, we're not going to get too deep into that. Going back to this balsamic moon in Aries, all right? We're still in transition. We are grounding, yes, the previous north node of Aries, this previous eclipse season that we've been in, and also, so it's going to be a lot of big stuff that comes through during this moon. A lot of big energy, a lot of big emotions, a lot of big information. I know for me, a lot of big spirits, because Neptune is in Aries right now, and that happened after the eclipse, so we're having a lot more spiritual information come through now that that transition of Neptune has happened. More than likely, as we're moving into the coming years with this bigger picture transition of the lunar nodes and what's happening with them, we're going to be receiving more spiritual information with the north node. So it's like we had the birth, we had the beginning with the north node in Aries, and now what spiritual information, what sacrifices, altar practices, and different things like that are we going to need to integrate, inherit, work with, understand, cross through? All, there's a lot of different ways that you could talk about it. Play with also, maybe game, strategize. Tricksters are a thing, so it is. And Pisces is the oldest, wisest trickster, so there could be some old tricks in the book that you remember. That could be a part of it. Some new tricks in the book that become old eventually, or some old tricks in the book that get livened up. As a society, the North Node in Pisces, spiritually associated. Now that Neptune is in Aries, birth. Spiritually associated birth. Changes are coming and happening in the spiritual regard. I tweeted, or not tweeted it, put it out on Substack. Pope Francis passed on 3 weeks in Neptune in Aries. We got some changes happening. The North Node in Pisces, we've got some changes happening in society based on that astrological, whatchamacallit. There's a lot of stuff going on. Am I really gonna? I'm the astrologer calling that an astrological whatchamacallit, but you know what? I think the way that I'm looking at it is like the astrology, looking at the real world application of stuff that's already happened. I think that's what I might call it in my show. The astrological whatchamacallit. Yeah, we have one of those. Pope Francis passed away 3 weeks into Neptune being in Aries. So the astrological whatchamacallit, that's a strange crossing. We've got some other strange changes to come through with Neptune and Aries when it comes to spirituality and society and how we sit with it, how we walk with it, how we talk with it and revere it. So just some bigger picture stuff. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. We're done with this moon cycle, but we're not done yet in the big picture. We're not done yet with this transition. So because it is Aries, so if you're feeling the fiery emotions, because it's the moon too, so if you're feeling the fiery emotions, there's going to be change. Give it time. Be patient with yourself. We've got things to rearrange. We've got things that are feeling strange. Neptune is in a different place now. We've got, it's different. The North Node's in a different place. Neptune's in a different place. So let the change then, It is. Enjoy the grounding. The cycle's ending. We're done. And we're moving on. Cool. The reason I bring up the big stuff is because probably the information you're receiving now, it's going to make sense later on. It's going to make sense later on or be necessary to receive, achieve, intervene later on. It's going to be a helpful tool. The messages that come through on this Aries balsamic moon, because of all this big picture stuff that's happening with the lunar nodes, it's going to be helpful. Come next eclipse season, come 2 eclipse seasons from now, come 3 eclipse seasons from now. It's going to be something that's going to be useful. So just, make a note for yourself. We've got things to do, and the spirits with what the placements are happening right now could come through to be like, here's the tools and the information that you need that you've been waiting to receive. Congrats, kid. Here you go. Congrats, kiddo. That's for you. Congrats. We're going to reveal this to you. We're going to reveal this to you because now that it's time. It's just time. So that could be a part of this balsamic moon as well. I'm filming this in the middle of the balsamic moon. It knocked me over so far in a way that was necessary. So if that's something that's happened for you too, gratitude, reverence, and love to you. I usually say that at the end of the show, but you know what? You're going to get through it. Receive what you need to. It's a lot of spiritual stuff that's related to this moon because of the Neptune transition into Aries. So be with it how you need to, receive how you need to. Let's look at the next one, because that was a lot of notes on just the balsamic moon in Aries. So, because then we've got the moon's in Taurus from the 27th to the 28th, and then the 27th is when we have the new moon in Taurus. So we have this really big ending, and then we have this really big beginning. Really, really big beginning. Venus right now being in Pisces, which Venus rules over the sun in Taurus. Now we're going back to this power circle again. The full moon breakdown, the full new moon breakdown is going to be up for the exclusive subs. But we are going to talk about the new moon itself and kind of some expectations and what to expect. So because of this power circle that's going on, we've got Venus Venus, what are all the placements here? We've got Venus in Pisces. So the moon is in Taurus, ruled by the Venus in Pisces, ruled by the Neptune in Aries, ruled by the Mars in Leo, ruled by the sun in Taurus. So it's an interesting, because it's not ruled by the moon anymore. Mars is not in Cancer, so it's not ruled by the moon anymore. It's ruled by the sun. So the way that Mars and Cancer worked, every couple days the moon changes, right? So our directionality, our strategy, our victory, our enemies also, because Mars has to do with enemies. So that I haven't actually looked at that perspective, but that's true. That's a thing. If you've been dealing with things coming up that have just not been super fun with Mars and Cancer, enemies were changing every couple days. So we had to kind of be on our toes while simultaneously really looking at our heart, and like it was a time to stay home a little bit more and be more within your space, more within your heart work. It is. That's what kept us safe. It's what helped us strategize. And it's also what helped us claim more victory. So now that Mars is in Leo, it's a little bit different when it comes to the new moon and the moon cycle associations, because the moon in Cancer, or the Mars in Cancer, allowed basically every single moon sign and moon phase, because of the way that the other transits are set up right now, to rule over themselves within some kind of power circle. However, now it's different. The sun of the new moon is what will be ruling over the new moon. It's not the moon of the new moon that's ruling over the new moon. It's the sun of the new moon. And the new moons, they're always in the same sign as the sun. So we've got the new moon in Taurus in the Taurus sun season. So the sun in Taurus is ruling over indirectly. It's a power circle to the same Taurus space, because both the moon and the sun are going to be there. Also, it's going to be there with Uranus. It's going to be there with Uranus. We're going to talk about that in a second. That's a crazy crossover. But it's in the same space. So we have a power circle back to Taurus, but it starts with the moon and it ends with the sun. Well, technically, I guess it would start with the sun if we follow it, the sun, and then it goes to Mars, and then it goes to... So technically, it starts with the sun and it ends with the moon. It depends on what direction you're looking at the space of the circle. I suppose that's true. So imagine this. Instead of it being just like a closed circle, imagine that the circle is open now. Imagine that there is like a space in the circle that doesn't fully connect, and instead, you can pull that string and go in a different direction. So instead of being in like a whirlpool, instead of being in... I don't know if I would call it a whirlpool. Instead of being in standing water, we have entered a stream. Instead of being in a lake or a pond, we have entered a river. So we have some actual like movement in this season, rather than just going around in a circle, rather than just going around on ourselves and figuring things out and re-strategizing and having to be in this like well space, this still water space. It might not have been still water. I guess that's true. But the space of like a lake or a pond, something like that. Instead of being in that sort of emotional energy or working with that sort of current and currency when it comes to the new moon, this new moon offers up a stream. We're going forward, and it's a stream that's ruled by the sun. So it's going to be this is going to be a bright light season of moon. This is going to be a bright light season of moon where we are moving in joy. We are working in joy. Things are going to be very different, and it's going to be spiritual joy as well. Spiritual joy, not a toy. Spiritual joy is very powerful. Spiritual joy, not only does it have a lot of power, some people cower away from spiritual joy. Some people do not like it. Some people do not appreciate it. Some people probably not you. Usually people who are in spiritual spaces are not applicable to that narrative. But if you look at people who are like afraid of spirituality or are afraid of that sort of space, sometimes that can come up. And because of the way that we have Saturn right now still in Pisces, it's important that if any sort of resistance comes up to the spirit, because Neptune is a part of this open circle ruling space, which is going to be ruling over that Saturn again, it's important that if there's resistance to the practice that you're in this stream-like energy, be resistant to it. Okay, well, if you don't like it, I don't care. You don't have to agree with my joy. My joy is my joy. And you know what? My spirits take care of me. My spirits love me. My spirits honor my joy. And my joy honors my spirits. And you know what? That's enough. You know what? I think it's good. I think that's enough. Thanks so much for your opinion. Thanks so much for letting me know. But guess what? You're not the star of my show. My show being just the life that you're living. What you got going on. Other people are not the star of what your show. They're not. You have your work, you have your show. So if other people bring things to you in this moon season that would alter you out of joy, part of that Saturn is going to be, actually, you know what? I don't agree with that. I'm going to just let it be. I'm moving on. I'm going to go back to my direction because this is going to be very streamlined energy. It's going to be a very streamlined energy, which means we're going places. We got places to be. We've got places to go. We've got places to be. We've got places to go. We got things to do. We've got people to see, possibly. So it's going to be a lot more creative energy coming up as well. A lot more creative energy, rather maybe than, again, the sitting and the shifting and the being in the emotions and working in that circle-like energy. Also, too, Taurus has to do with our resources. You're telling me that the currency, we're actually going to be flowing towards something different. We're going to be flowing towards something new. We're going in a different direction now? Okay. Currency. So resources on your personal life or in your personal life could be changing. It could be that you find spiritual answers to currency issues or problems, or like things being resolved, spiritually speaking. There could be currency coming in. How do I explain that one? Especially based on your worth. This is still a season of birth. Again, with the rhyming all the time. This is still the season of birth. We're still in this period of birth. We're still in a season of birth. Where I am, it's the springtime. We've got I was just at the cafe yesterday looking at the sprouts of flowers coming out. I don't know what they are, but there's these flowers that are near me that are just big bulbs. They shoot way up. It's like a couple feet up out of the ground, and then the bulbs come out. They're beautiful flowers, and I was looking at them last year, and there's a lot that I learned from them. Anyways, they have come up. The bulb of the flower has come up. So like, it's time for spring, the flowers to come up, things to happen. So the resources, abundance, and I mentioned in the previous episode that this Taurus season is going to be like chaotic seed planting. It's like very fertile, very abundant, but there's not a lot of structure to it other than just being consistent. And this new moon is going to kind of, it's going to still be applicable, and also it's going to it's like if you had a hose to now go water the seeds. If you've been planting the seeds, now you have a water source to be able to go and like take care of the seeds and your resources and what you need. That's this new moon. So kind of take account of what have you figured out since the beginning of Taurus season. If you are someone who sets new moon intentions and you do new moon work, what have you figured out since the beginning of Taurus season about your second house, your Taurus house, and then your Venus in your chart? And again, resources. You as a resource, your resources on a personal level, because then Scorpio in the 8th house is more about how we exchange them with people, but the resource itself, that's going to be about the Taurus space. There's still exchanges with Taurus, and there's still money and the bartering, trading, paying for stuff. There's still that involved with the second house, but it's going to be more prominent if you're looking at like large exchanges, when it comes to large exchanges and exchanges in a lot of frequency, possibly inheritance, death money. I don't know if I want to say that or not, but it's like inheritances, death money. I'll leave it in, to be honest with you. I don't feel like it's going to be a bad thing to put in the episode. Death money, for whatever reason. Yeah, that's like 8th house. But this season is Taurus. We're not a Scorpio season yet. So since it's Taurus season, we're focusing on us and our resources. So we actually have it could be if you've been asking for a new stream of income, or if you've been working on a new stream of income, or a new stream of resources, or a new stream. Could also, depending on your Taurus Venus placements, like if you had Taurus or Venus in 11th house, I guess that's true, 11th house, or if you have Aquarius in the 2nd house, or Uranus. Oh my God, no wonder I'm bringing that up. That's crazy. Okay, so those placements are going to be applicable. And also, that's crazy because Uranus right now is going to be with this moon. This is going to be unpredictable. This is, oh my God, how did I not recognize that until right now? This is going to be a moon cycle of unpredictability. Income, streams of income, unpredictability. One thing about chaos that I love, if we didn't have it, things would be rigid and stuck all the time. You've been feeling stuck in something resourcefulness wise. You've been feeling stuck in something, stuck in a chapter of your life, stuck in an area. Okay, well, there's going to be some unpredictable things that happen in this moon cycle. Unpredictable, unscripted, things that you cannot predict. Uranus is unpredictable stuff. It is, when we look at Pluto being in Aquarius, it offers us the window to look at the secrets of the changing winds. So there could be premonition energy that you're receiving, like, I could feel this thing coming in, or I know there's something that's about to happen, but I don't know really what it is yet. I honestly have been feeling that energy for a long time with Pluto and Aquarius, and this month is going to be very specifically directed at resources, influencing our resources. So if you have been looking at how Pluto and Aquarius has been affecting your chart, understand that this new moon in Taurus is going to highlight some alterations. It's going to be more currency. If we look back at the visual of we've been working in a lake and now we're going to a river or a stream. Okay, think about if you have ever been on a boat going down a river, right? It's unpredictable. The twists, the turns. How's the water going to hit the rocks? What's the water level? How fast is the water going? You don't know until you get there, until you're looking at it, and you've just got to be able to paddle on and keep up with whatever's happening, whatever's going on, right? So if you are, yeah, honestly, that's really true. That's really true. So here we go. There's going to be some unpredictable things that happen. It also could be like the fish in the stream. If you're looking at, again, resources, if we're looking at fish in a stream as an example, this moon is going to be like an unpredictable number of fish. You could have like a really, really big catch. Hopefully it's not of lack. Because this feels like a lot to unpack. With all the fertile, abundant energy of Taurus season, with all the fertile, abundant energy of these seeds and the season of Taurus and kind of what Taurus represents, the story of Taurus is literally about fertile abundance. Jupiter falls in love with the princess, Europa, I'm pretty sure is her name. There's definitely an accent on saying that, so I might be pronouncing it a little bit incorrectly, but Europa is the princess. Jupiter falls in love with her. Jupiter is a god, so Jupiter comes to the earth, but he has to shapeshift to get here, so he turns into the bull. The bull, Jupiter, as a shapeshifter here on the earth, and Europa, they live happily ever after for a long period of time. They go to this island together. They live their lives, right? Jupiter's a god, though. Jupiter eventually is like, listen, I've got to go back into the sky. Like, I can't be here forever. Like, I've got things I've got to do. I've got to go. Like, kind of this was a vacation for me. Love ya. And I got to go return to my godly duties. So when he leaves, he puts Taurus in the sky so that every single night when it's nighttime, Europa has the Taurus bull to look at. I think, honestly, as someone who loves romance, I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a gorgeous thing, okay? Thanks, Europa and Jupiter. Thanks, the Taurus bull. Okay, cool. So it's also about becoming that shapeshifter so that you're able to receive those resources. Becoming the shapeshifter so that things can expand. It's the expansion down in the compressed energy as well. Jupiter is about expansion. It's about things getting bigger, but the god Jupiter has to become tiny. I'm going to air quote tinier, smaller. Has to fit into a body, right? Has to fit into a size of a body here on the earth so that the bull can be here. So it is like the seed. It is a smaller, compact sort of energy. So give it some time, because we also have Uranus moving into Gemini this year. So like the unpredictable winds are going to be winding. They're going to be winding. Oh my goodness. But for now, it's with that compact energy where it's like smaller. It's more about the earth energy. So expect yourself to shapeshift over this season, and then kind of come to a new conclusion of, this is what my resources are, this is what my resources are going to be, and it's going to be unpredictable. Jupiter probably kind of knew that he was going to turn into a bull. You may not understand what you're going to turn into on the other side of this moon cycle when it comes to resources, so lean into it. Trust yourself. There's some unpredictable changes and rearranges coming in. Who we become sometimes is unpredictable too. So you may find things about yourself where you're like, wow, I really can do that as work. Wow, I really can do that as a form of money. Wow, I really can do that. And it's honey. It's sweet. It's things I like. And it's on repeat because the fertile abundance, right? It's on repeat. So that's a part of this new moon energy. So shout out to the new moon, honestly. Shout out to the new moon. That new moon in Taurus It happens on the 27th at 1932 UTC. That's the exact time of this Taurus new moon. By the time that we get to the 29th through the 30th, we're going to have the moon in Gemini with Jupiter ruled by a Mercury in Aries. So again, still this Aries fire starter, birth-oriented energy. This is going to be, non-ironically, what a strange switch up, because the story of Taurus, we were talking about Jupiter, right? Jupiter is going to be in the moon right after the new moon. Oh, okay. In Gemini, the moon's going to be in Gemini, and Jupiter's going to be in Gemini. Okay. Have you ever, listen, there is plenty of times in my life where I have planted an avocado seed. Anybody else ever planted an avocado seed? Raise your hand, because it always surprises me. The avocado seed, it'll like shoot a little sprout out, and then suddenly, kind of overnight, over like a couple of days, it's like a foot tall. Over like a couple, there it is. There it is. That's kind of what this is gonna be like. You might set some intentions or start some work on that new moon in Taurus, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's the bloom. You didn't even have to do anything. Well, I mean, obviously you're doing whatever you're doing with your work, but like in the sense of, oh, it just happened. Oh, it's just there. That's crazy. Okay, well, there I did it then. Okay, well, there I did it then. Yeah, you did. Good job. Yeah, you did, and good job. It's rapid expansion. That's what this is. Rapid expansion, and it's probably going to involve other people. One, because we had the Uranus with the new moon. There's going to be a lot of unpredictability with other people, especially for if you are someone who makes money or has income and resource that has to do with interacting with other people, or somehow unpredictability either in a workplace or unpredictability with people and how they relate to you could possibly bring in more money for you and could possibly be more fruitful in your endeavors of business, work, money, finance related stuff. The chaos of this moon cycle is chaos and unpredictability. It's going to change how people relate to you. It's going to change how people relate to maybe your work. If you're someone who is similar to myself, because I know that there's people who follow me who are also content creators. So if you're similar in that vein of things, also if you're doing anything where you are relating to people and having those exchanges of finance, however that might work, you may also find yourself spending money in new places. That could be something that happens in this moon cycle as well, like unpredictably being like, wow, I feel like I want to go try out this new business, or I want to kind of like we were talking about voting at the beginning, voting with your dollar kind of thing. It's like, well, I think I want to go try this new thing. I think I want to invest in this new thing. I think I want to do this new. I've never tried that before, but you know what? I think it might be good for the future. I think it might be good for me in this time period. I think that's what I want to do. So that could be a part of this as well. But going from the moon in Taurus to the moon in Gemini, with the way that Uranus and Jupiter are helping out Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter and Gemini. Oh, okay. Unpredictable rapid expansion. And that's at the very beginning. That's woven into the beginning of the moon cycle. So it honestly, because it's woven into the beginning of the moon cycle, could be happening throughout the entire moon cycle. Granted, the moon in Taurus and the moon in Gemini are only going to happen in that succession until we get to the new moon in Gemini in about a month from now, right? But because it's woven in at the beginning, like the way that I work with the new moon, this is the reason I give the new moon breakdowns to the exclusive subs every month, is because if you understand the new moon, oh, you understand the entire moon cycle. You got the new moon in your pocket, oh, you're going to be able to walk the whole entire thing, and it's not going to be an issue, and it's not going to be a problem. So that's the reason I do the new moons, is because if you can look at the new moon and you know what's going on the new moon, the rest of the cycle is going to be a piece of cake more than likely. Or it's hard to make a mistake at that point. You set the intention, you do the work you're doing, and then you just let things kind of flow like the water does. You mother it, you nurture it, you put your energy into it. Pull some weeds if you need to. That's kind of full moon stuff, but maybe more on that another time. But so going back to the fact that this is happening at the very beginning, unexpected rapid expansion at the very, very beginning of this, woven into the intention of the new moon, what? That's going to be happening all cycle then. It's going to be happening all cycle. So if there's unexpected rapid expansion that happens, be prepared for more of it throughout this moon cycle. I kind of want to go get myself some flowers. I don't know why, but that just feels like unexpected celebration, unexpected celebratory. Wow, can't believe that really happened. That's what this feels like. That's the energy that I'm receiving right now around this, is like, wow, I can't believe, thank you for the gift. Thank you for the gifts. That was awesome. I really did that. I really put the work in. And also, like, there's reason to celebrate. There's reason to celebrate. This is a season to consecrate. If you've been working on this transition, if things have been moving, if you've been doing, you know, what is necessary and what you've called yourself to do, what Spirit's called of you possibly to, then here we go. Here's a season of consecration. Rapid expansion. You'll understand it if you see it, when you see it, how you see it, where you see it. It's going to be very clear and very obvious. Jupiter expansion is going like from 1 to 100. It's not just going from 1 to 2. Jupiter is multiplicity and with the oh my God, it's like there's the possibility. It's possible, okay? It's possible. This may be more on like a yearly cycle of Taurus if we're looking at the long term, because there's a full moon in Taurus about 6 months from now, right? So it might be it might be a part of the yearly cycle as well. Also, to be expected is woven in on the new moon in Taurus, so it's going to be expected over this rapid expansion of unpredictable fruitfulness happening over the entire moon cycle, which means it's also going to be woven into the entire year. Pay attention to the Taurus moons this year, because they're going to signify what's really happening in the bigger circles, the bigger cycles, okay? So noted on that. And also, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, Jupiter is going from like 1 to 100, 1 to 10, 1 to 100. It's like, it's multiplicity, right? Okay. Now if you imagine 2 to the nth power, right? You ever did exponents in mathematics, right? 2 to the nth power. So that would be like 2 to the second power. And then you would do 2 times 2 because you do it twice. Yeah. Okay. So you're multiplying it by itself however many times the n is. Okay. Now imagine, because Uranus and Jupiter together would be 2 to the nth times 100, or like, you know, 1 to 100. So it's like we have 2 possible multipliers. And the reason I say it's possible is because Jupiter is the multiplicity. It is multiplication. And Uranus, hold on, the unpredictableness of it is like, it could be way more than you think it's going to be. It could be way more. Yeah, it could be way more than you think it's going to be. Okay, so there's that. And then, hold on, because all the planets right now, Jupiter's lucky. And we got some extra luck with this one. That's what we got. Thanks, Jupiter. Thanks to the planets. There's a whole bunch of crazy transition. What the even heck was that stuff that we've been going through for months now. And this is really, especially with Jupiter, because with Jupiter over the previous months, we've had a Jupiter retrograde the end of the previous year into the beginning of this one. We've been rewriting story stuff with Jupiter. We've been focusing on kind of exiting one story and entering another story. That's a lot of Jupiter in Gemini. And with the way that Mercury was placed in those other spaces of Jupiter-related things, it was very much story time. We're looking at one story and we're writing another story. So we're in the middle. We're changing some things. So we kind of have the new story figured out now, thanks Jupiter. And, okay, remember I was saying this is woven into the beginning of the cycle, Uranus and Jupiter at the beginning of the cycle? Okay, which means that probably it's going to be happening all year and throughout this moon cycle, yes, and it's going to be cycling for an entire year until we get to the next new moon in Taurus. Okay, and all the planets are direct right now, which means anything that works with this crazy, wild expansion, unexpected energy when it comes to Venus, Taurus, second house, moon related things that are happening in the chart over the coming year, we're moving on, we're moving forward. We've got a lot of crazy retrogrades of transition this year. And like in the previous year too. We had Pluto retrograde back into Capricorn in the previous year. Saturn's going to cross into Aries this year, and then it's going to retrograde back into Pisces again. Neptune has just crossed into Aries, and it's going to retrograde back into Pisces again this year too. So like we're having a lot of and those are big planets. This is the reason I bring it up. Those are big planets. They take a while. We also just got out of a Venus retrograde, which only happens every year and a half. And we just got out of a Mars retrograde, which only happens every 2 years. So we've had all of this massive reconsideration, huge, drastic change energy, which has been abundant and also a little wild. Like, it's been just a little wild. It's been a wild ride. I can't speak for you on a personal level, but I can speak for the collective energy within the transit. And it's been a little wild, you know, it's been a wild ride. So in that wild ride though, Jupiter always comes through with luck. That's part of Jupiter, is like, it's meant to be lucky. There's a lucky strike. It helps us dream about things. It's the dreamer of astrology, not in the sense of like, I'm asleep and I'm dreaming, but the dreamer of like, this is what I want to do with my life. Okay. I was also talking about the North Node earlier. Jupiter is very near North Node energy, the dreamer energy. This is what I want to do. Jupiter has a little bit more direction than the North Node, and also still relative. It's like relative to that sort of energy. So the fact that all the planets are direct right now, anything that happens with the Taurus moons, even if it's within, well, no, Taurus is ruled by Venus. So, and it's direct right now. It just went direct. So yeah, so anything that's happening over the next year with this crazy rapid expansion energy is helping us move forward. We're going to go through other transitions of retrogrades. We've been through a lot of transitions of retrogrades, but this moon, this one? Okay, then. Well, go have your fun. Go have your fun. Get things done. The harvest this year could be like an unimaginable thing right now. You ever had that happen? A lot can change in 6 months. A lot can change in 6 months. Oh, you got some dreams. Okay, a lot can change in 6 months. So just be prepared for things to be very, not in a scary way, unpredictable. This transit is on your side, so ride with it. That's what this is. Okay, so that's the moon in Jupiter and related to the moon in Taurus. Cool. We also have the 30th. On the 30th is when Venus enters Aries, and that's while the moon is with Jupiter and Gemini. Oh my God. So like another layer to this, we're entering the birth. Jupiter, like there's birth energy happening with this new moon intention at the same time that, oh my God, at the same time. That's crazy. That's, I don't even know if I have the words for it. Imagine everything that I was just talking about. Okay. Now put a firework behind it. That's incredible. Now put some fire pack power behind it. Put a little spark behind it. That's what's happening. Venus entering Aries. That's crazy with the moon cycle stuff. Venus entering Aries is going to usher in birth. Venus, when it's stationed retrograde, okay? Venus, when it's stationed retrograde, was in Aries. So we've been in this big reconsideration period, and we finally get to start over. we finally get to start over. We're finally starting over. This reconsideration of worth and the things that we've been working on, reconsidering our worth, holding ourselves to new standards, and sitting in more of the Venus energy how we want to for the coming couple of years. Because once a retrograde goes direct, we're in it until it retrogrades again. So till we get to the next Venus retrograde, we're setting ourselves up for a new level of worth. So, you know, here we go. And it's moving into Aries at the very beginning of this new moon. Plus, Venus is ruling over the sun in Taurus right now. So, hello, birth energy. Hello, birth energy. Oh my goodness. I'm grateful that I brought up at the beginning of this podcast. I'm grateful that I brought up the fact that I feel like a baby right now because I'm crying and sleeping and eating food and working when I can. Like, that's the energy I'm currently in. And okay, so let the birth begin then. Let the birth begin. You want to bring some new things in. You've been working on something for a long time. One of the things that Spirit keeps reminding me spiritually is that pregnancy is around. So if you have been in labor of like, you got to get things done, the labor has started. I know for me, there's like a specific moment in my mind where I was like, okay, things are starting to ground now. I'm starting to land this. Here we go. So for a while now, I've been in the kind of like the pushing energy. You got to push and then you got to rest, and you got to push and then you got to rest. And you know, sometimes it is what it is. It is what it is. Push and rest and don't be stressed. Push and rest and don't be stressed. So yeah, push and rest and don't be stressed. So now that we are where we are, it's like, okay, that's been done. The kid's gonna be here, spiritually speaking, the thing that you've been working on, the labor and delivery. Here we are at the delivery. That's what this is, delivery. Venus entering Aries is delivery. So that's also ruling over the sun in Taurus. I already said that, but it's gonna bring a big delivery, because then also Mars is in Leo, ruled by that sun in Taurus. Oh my God, you know, a big circle. And that Mars and Leo ruling the Neptune in Aries, that's where the spiritual aspect of it comes in. Ruling the Neptune in Aries. and is ruling the Venus. So there's a spiritual aspect to it. It's also going to be healing. I was talking about Chiron at the beginning, right? It's going to be healing. There's going to be some healing aspects to what's coming up. And thank goodness. The other thing that Mars is influencing right now is the dark moon in Scorpio. So if you have the Lilith in Scorpio, Lilith and dark moon, again, I call it the dark moon because for me, there's more than one dark mother in my practice. No hate, no shade to Lilith, okay? That's just my personal preference of like the name of that placement. Yeah, so the dark moon. It's influencing the dark moon in Scorpio, that Mars in Leo is. So this is like, especially for people, if you already have a practice set up of shadow mother stuff, okay. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, expect there to be some pretty big clarity around what you've been working on, because it's coming to the earth now. Congrats. Here we are. Congrats. Didn't I say earlier this makes me want to go get some flowers and congratulations? Yeah, that's what this feels like. Some congratulatory energy. Yeah, the labor's over, delivery is here. Delivery is here. And you know what else happens after delivery? There's a period, yes, of nurture, but there's also a little period of rest. Again, push, rest, don't be stressed. So here we are, delivery. That's what's happening. Venus moving into Aries. And also, we're here. We made it because of the influence. If you read my most previous blog post about spiritual warfare, then you'll be familiar with these transits, but I'm going to bring it up now because I feel like it's necessary. I know we've been sitting here for an hour, but for whatever reason, we'll just let this podcast be a little bit longer, a little bit stronger. You know, sometimes you got to put some extra spice in the pot. So here we are. Venus over the previous couple of years, the South Node was in Libra. Right before the South Node entered Libra in, 2023? It was about a year and a half ago. So yeah, it would have been 2023. Kicking off that South Node in Libra was a Venus retrograde. Coming out of the South Node in Libra was a Venus retrograde. So we had two Venus retrogrades basically conjoined together because of the South Node that was in Libra. So we've had this huge undertaking of worth and reconsideration of that, and things coming to the surface so that we can clear them out, that we are not worth. Also, the South Node in Libra was justice oriented. So it's like a new chapter of justice, new layer of justice. If you're interested in the spiritual warfare part of things, that there's a blog on the blog about that. I'm not going to get too deep into it here, but I just want to bring up those transits for perspective, because Venus moving into Aries is a long earned delivery. This is not just something that you've been working on for like a year. This is something that you could have been working on for about 2 or 3 years now. This is something that has been in the works. This is something that you've had on your mind. You've had your hands in it. Okay, you've been at the altar, you've been praying, you've been crying, you've been asking about it, you've been working, you've been sweating, it has been, and now it's here. It has been, and now it's here. Catch me crying. You know what? Catch me in my tears. Catch me balled up in a blanket. That's how I feel like this might have me, in a good way. You know, in a good way. By goodness. So, because I'm ready. You know what? I feel like I've been carrying a spiritual kid for years now. It's heavy. Can we get here? Let's get here. I like that idea. I like these transits. I think these transits are going to be good. I said at the beginning of Taurus season, this is going to be the refresher energy that we need. And in this moment, I could definitely agree with that. So cool. Shout out to the mothers. You know what? Thank you, the mothers of Love, Truth, and Free, who do here support me. Thank you. Who do here support me and support you. You know what? If you are someone who works in love, truth, free, honor, glory, elevation, gratitude, reverence, justice, and love, thank you for the work you do. And if you're a mother in that energy, thank you for your motherhood energy. Okay. Thank you for that. And thank you to the mothers who watch over you too. Love you, the mothers. Love you, the indigenous mothers of the land. Love you, the indigenous spirits of the land. Love you, Mother Earth. Oh, is it time to give birth? Have you been working on something? Because here we go. Here we are. We're arriving. And I couldn't be happier about it, honestly. Relief. There's going to be some relief with this transit as well. Relief. The feeling of relief. The feeling of, finally I'm here. Finally, I did it. Finally, we did it. We came through. We did it. Good for you. So that's Venus in Aries. Again, I'm going to re-mention it. That's happening at the same time that the moon is in Gemini with Jupiter. Something really big is about to happen. Could we predict it? Probably a little bit, but in specificity, no. So just leave it be for now. Walk through it as you need to. All right, so here we go. Then May 1st through May 2nd, we have the moon in Cancer. Nothing else right now is in Cancer. The moon is going to be ruling itself because Cancer is ruled by the moon. So all this crazy switch up, unpredictable, fertile birth energy over the first several days of this moon cycle. Okay, let's actually sit in the feeling of it now. We need to ground the feeling of it. A lot has happened, lots has come through that we now let me be a mother. That's also like, it's like the mother energy. Now let me be a mother. Let me feel through some things. There's a delivery happening. Okay, we got some new feelings. We got a new person. We got a new life. It's new. Adjust, okay? Take the time to adjust. Adjust, feel, adjust, heal, adjust, reveal, adjust, adjust. That's kind of it for that moon. Spend time at home, be comfortable. That's kind of it, okay? And the reason that's kind of it is because sometimes things need to be simple, okay? Okay. Adjust and trust yourself. Adjust and trust. Okay, trust yourself. We also have May 2nd, this is going to be the final transit of the week. So May 2nd at 1631 UTC, Venus is going to be conjunct Neptune in Aries, ruled by Mars and Leo, okay? This could be spiritually, are you having twins? Okay. Are there two things coming through? Okay, this could also be a new birth in the spirit or a new information. Could also be the birth happened, right? The birth happened. Now the spirits are going to come through to cover you. Now the spirits are going to come through to make sure everything's good, to make sure you're good, to make sure this new life of what is coming through for you is good. Again, this is going to be very spiritual. This is a very spiritual birth. This is something that's been happening in the spirit for a long time. This is something that you are ready for. Here you are. That's great. Here you are. So again, time to consecrate, birth is around, so let it ground, honestly. Thank you, the mothers, for being around, so let it ground. And Venus conjunct Neptune, again, ruled by the Mars in Leo, ruled by the Sun in Taurus, which is ruled by the Venus in Aries, which is going to be conjunct with the Neptune, also in Aries. So we have an interesting illumination. And Leo is the parent-child relationships. There's going to be some interesting revealings on this day. Pisces, we usually think about Scorpio as holding the secrets. Pisces and Neptune, that also has a lot of secrets. They leave a lot of things unsaid. They don't normally talk about everything that's going on under the surface. So there's probably going to be some things coming through. This is also going to be clarity in the mind. The mind, the mental, things that are happening. Could be parental things happening. The mind, the mental, be parental. The mind, the mental, be parental. So there's going to be also, the way that I sit with my spiritual practice is that if the spirits are older, longer, stronger, wiser than me, and they've been around for a long time, right? Okay, then technically they are like a parent. They're a parental energy. Parental energy. Be discerning. Some spirits do not like to be called parents, so just be discerning about your personal practice. This is not me telling you to call them parents. Do what you need to. And also, in a spiritual aspect of things, you could have some spirits come in to check on you, especially if you keep a practice and like you have a healthy relationship with the spirits around you. Then this conjunction with Venus and Neptune is probably going to bring in some it's just some highlighted energy of like, we're here, we've got you, we've got your back, we're doing everything we can do over in the veils too to make sure that you're supported. Could be ancestral stuff that comes up, especially with the clink, okay, on the drinks, sure, yeah, that works. It could be parental energy of like ancestral things coming through as well. So I guess just discern for how you practice, because everybody's practice is different. Everyone's spirits are different. So if you have a practice where there are parental energies and or you are a parent and or you're working with the inner parent-child dynamic of things, okay, well, yeah, here you go. There's going to be some, probably a lot, honestly, spiritual energy, spiritual understanding, messages, and different things that are coming through with this conjunction. Right when Venus enters Aries, like we're going to start to feel it. We kind of already do a little bit. Venus is in Pisces, which is ruled by Neptune. So instead of it being like a game of telephone, we're going to get the direct messages. I like that. Give me the clear message. Can I see it directly? Let me see it directly. Let me have it right here, right now, instead of having to look at all the symbols and all the other stuff. So that's going to be a part of this. And again, with the birth energy, Neptune is a long transit. Neptune is a really long transit. It's like 14 years. Well, I mean, I guess really long could be like 100 years, but in the sense of transits, right? Neptune is kind of a long transit. So because of that, and because this is at the very, very beginning of Neptune in Aries, the birth that's happening within this time frame, this fertile, abundant, unexpected, unpredictable birth delivery stuff that's going on at the beginning of Neptune in Aries, okay then. This Venus-Neptune conjunction could also show you how is that going to carry through those 14 years? You know, what's the implications of that for the long term? And then also kind of with all the unpredictable fertile energy, maybe how can you sow the seeds in other seasons to have more of the abundant fertile stuff that you need. There could be a lot of different spiritual messages that come through around this birth specifically, and legacy stuff, things about where you're going in the next year or two and how that turns into 20 years. So however you might be practicing right now, because that could be important for some people, but it might not be important for other people. Just kind of depends on, you know, where you're at in your practice. But if that seems like it might be important to you, there's probably going to be messages that are coming through when we get to this conjunction about of Venus and Neptune and Aries, about kind of what's next. What's next? We've been through all this other stuff. What's next now? Whoa. Okay. Interesting. For those of you who just saw what happened, I just had a big ring in my ears. What's next? Okay. I don't normally get ringing in my ears unless it's really important. I really need to pay attention. So discern for yourself how you're going to be living and giving for the next while. Change up of style. I think I'm going to conclude then. That feels like a good place to end our podcast today. Thanks so much for being here. Gratitude, reverence, and love to you. Keep up your brew. Keep doing what you need to do. I will too. You'll be seeing more of me very soon. I'll talk to you then, you know. Enjoy the week. I think it's going to be a good one. That's for sure.